Hi guys, very good afternoon to all of you. Welcome to the video number 396. My name is Ajay, and in this video we are going to actually look at the error which generally people get when they connect their Excel application with the external applications, right? For example, it can be your Outlook, it can be your PowerPoint, it can be your Access database, and it can be your when you specifically work with the folders. Okay, any folder in your D drive, C drive on your desktop, and you are trying to access the text files from there, or images or Excel file, whatever, right? So how actually to sort out this kind of a error? Now, why actually I'm uploading this video? Obviously I have a reason, because I have received one of the email. Let me show you. This email, I got it from Charles, right? Dear Ajay, hope you are well. I have recently discovered your Excel VBA videos and have since been studying them. I have been experiencing a compiler can't find project or library. Please advise me on how best to overcome this error. Also, I would like you to accept me as one of your students so that I can learn from you. Thanks for your amazing videos. Charles, you don't have to be my student. You are my dear subscriber, and each of you, all my people who are watching this video and who have subscribed to this channel, I can say one thing, that we work as a team always, and I try to answer as many emails, as many questions when you put up. And the channel is basically dedicated to those people who want to learn Excel VBA, MS Access and Access VBA, right? So if I think that your requirement is something which really doesn't require so many hours for me to work on that, definitely I will go and upload the video. Otherwise, generally I reply to my subscribers also, that if it is something which is really going to take a long hours, then basically that's something I take it separately. So welcome to the channel, and this is a wonderful question for all those who are learning the VBA, and maybe who are an expert and they have experienced this kind of a error, can't find the project or the library. Let me tell you why it comes and how you can sort it out. So let's go to the first of all, the Excel. I'm going to open the Excel here in front of you. So I have here Excel, and first of all I show you that how you going to get this error, why this error actually comes. Now, as I was telling you guys, that generally it comes when you want to integrate your Excel with the another application. Now, for example, we want to send the email, a very simple email. We want to send it out using the, of course, the Outlook application. Now, what happens when you make the program in the Visual Basic like this? If I insert the module, very first thing which you have to do is, you have to, obviously, because you're going to connect Excel with the Outlook, you need to go to the tools and the reference, and then what you need to do is, you need to search here for the Microsoft Outlook library. So these are all the alphabetically sorted out libraries. You can go and check that out. So I just scroll it down and I'm gonna see that where is it. So yeah, that's it. So this is my Microsoft Outlook 16.0 object library, and because I'm using Office 2016, that is why it says 16.0. If you are using any other version, this number will change, but the library name would remain same, Microsoft Outlook object library. So when you click here, just make sure that you come back to the tool reference and see that if it is moved up or not, because I was finding it out, it wasn't here. It was really, I had to scroll a lot down to get that file, right? So the first thing is that, the first possibility is that person who is going to write this code, I just go ahead and write the code. So let us say email send. I just write this code, email send. Okay. What I'm going to do is, I'm going to simply draft an email with the subject line and with the, I'm going to put some people in the to list and CC. So this is how we write O as Outlook dot application and set O equals to new Outlook dot application, right? Then you declare, let us say, one more class, which is Outlook mail item, right? Now I'm not here to discuss about the Outlook code, obviously, right? Because we are going to discuss here more on the error side. So this is how you can write the Outlook code. Now what happens, so I just quickly write here, for example, omail.to equals to Ajay at outlook.com, and then what I will do, I will simply display the email. Okay, that's how you can write it. Now, before I tell you the error, I want to tell you a couple of more things. If you're new to the channel and anybody who is watching this channel right away, uh, I want to give you kind of a feel that you have actually come on the right channel, right? Not just because you're on this channel, but because I have been receiving your questions from so many months, and every time your question is so unique. So this is a very good platform for all those who are working in Excel a lot. Maybe you are in the analytics field, maybe you are in the HR, finance, whatever. So day to day, whatever things you face, the challenges you face, I think that can be sorted out by looking at these videos. So now what you need to do is, guys, you need to, when you go to my channel, right, you go here in the playlist. Okay, when you go in the playlist, this is where you see 44 different playlists. So this playlist all are about Excel, Excel VBA, MS Access, and Access VBA. Access VBA title means it's a pure Access VBA code. Excel means that it's advanced Excel, so maybe basic Excel. When you click on that, you will find the videos there. Excel VBA means it is going to be a coding. So I have here uploaded, I think, 30 videos on Outlook as well. Okay, for example, look at this. Excel VBA connecting PowerPoint with Excel, Excel VBA file handling. So when you just scroll it down, somewhere here you should see that Excel VBA connecting Outlook from Excel. So we have 32 videos. Now in all these 32 videos, we had taken up different topics, right? And we had tried to give the resolution whenever if you have anything to do with the Outlook. For example, you want to export the Excel files which are coming in your email, you want to save them on your desktop, then or maybe you want to move the emails from one folder to the another folder, or you want to export those things in the Excel, so basically it all talks about the connected Outlook. So that's the same thing I'm going to do here. So if I run this program right now, if I show you, look at this, what will happen. You will not get any error and the email will be drafted. So it's gonna take a little time. Here we go, because it is creating actually the object. So it says type mismatch. All right, so what is the type mismatch? The type mismatch is basically I forgot to write here OMail, right? So when you write this, if you want to get good understanding on this, what I'm doing, just go and check out that playlist connecting Outlook with Excel. Right now you see this code ran and the email is beautifully drafted and it is displayed, right? I have everything here. You can use CC, subject, body, whatever you want to do, it's a separate thing. But now this code, if I just go ahead and suppose what I did is, because I'm a beginner or maybe I don't have that much of an in-depth knowledge of the VBA, what I did is I maybe copied this code from the Google, or maybe you're watching my channel and you just written this code, but you forgot to do one thing, which is you didn't actually add the library. This one, this is like this, right? This is the original reference. If you remember, when I clicked here, by default these are the 4 libraries which are always activated. Now you didn't actually activate the Outlook library, but here you written the code or maybe copy and pasted it. Well, if you write this code, what you will come to know that there is some problem, because suppose now if I write the same line again, do you see that I'm not able to see here Outlook application, guys? But previously you can if you didn't notice this, then you can also just play this video again, and you will understand that when we had declared the library, this Outlook was coming. So guys, if this is not coming, that means you can't write the code. It's as simple as that, right? But still people go ahead and write the code because it's a more of a like they are copying and pasting it. So if you're gonna do that, and suppose you have written this entire code, now if I just run the code again by of course removing this line, see what will happen. I'm going to run this line, and the moment you run this line, this is what you would get: file error, user type not defined. Now what does that mean? And it also highlights this line. This line, if it is highlighting, it means that it is not able to find out the library, because you are going to connect with the external application. You will have to tell your VBA, your Excel VBA, that look, I'm gonna deal with some external object, and in this particular case it is the Outlook. For VBA, Outlook doesn't matter if it is not going to be the library, you're not gonna activate it. It's kind of a stranger for your VBA, and this will say that user type not defined. So what will you do? You'll always go ahead and first of all add the reference. That is the first thing. This is how you get this error. First of all, let me just on this library. So Microsoft Outlook, it must be here. Yeah. Now the second thing is, now this is this has a very less chances of missing this particular step in going in the tools and adding the library, because this is something you should definitely do. And if you are a basic programmer also, if you have a basic knowledge, then even then you would do it. But the problem actually comes, suppose when you made this program and you have added this library as well. Okay, perfect, the code worked for you in your system, it worked. Like in my case, if I just run this time, it will not throw any error, right? The email will be drafted in front of you. But what happens, guys, if you're going to send this workbook to somebody who is not using my version, because you know that Excel 2016, Office 2016 is the latest version which is released by the Microsoft. So what happens if somebody is using the lower version, for example Office 2013, Excel 2013 or Excel 2010 or 7, they will get this error. Because suppose now what happened, I created a button here, I go to the insert and I create the button here, and now what I do is I just go and say that assign macro, and I link this with the email sent, right? And I write here email send. I send this file to you. You open this file, you save this file on your desktop, and as promised, I said that now this time emails will go from your this workbook, and you just click on this button. Now, if you are using the lower version, what will happen? Your code will throw the error, and it will throw the same error in this particular line, this line. Okay, will have this error and the same error, user type not defined. Now what is the reason? So basically what happens, the user has this knowledge, or maybe user comes back to you and say that he's getting this error. So what you need to do is, when you go to the tool in the reference, if you take that system on the remote, okay, you would find here this would show as missing Microsoft Outlook 16.0 object library. There will be a missing word which would come here, which means that user does not have that library because she's using 2013 or 10, whatever, right? So what you need to do is, you need to off this. You have to tell your user, or maybe if you're taking his system or her system with the remote, you will uncheck this, and then you will find what is the Outlook library for that particular machine. And obviously you will find the Microsoft Outlook 13.0 or not 13, actually 15.0 or 14.0. These are the versions which are there, right? Depending upon the version, but you don't have to worry about it. It is just that you need to check that. Okay, once you check that, and once you remove this missing one and you click OK and you run the program again, the program will run for you. Okay, so here we have a twist. Now if I'm making any program like this where I'm connecting the Excel with the external application, guys, if I'm using the higher version and you're using the lower version, you will get this error. But on the contrary, suppose if I'm using Excel 2010, and for the 2010, if I have the here 2010 installed, I would see here Microsoft Outlook 14.0 object library, right? If I make code in the 14.0 and if I send it to you and you're using the higher version, you're using 2013 or 2016, you won't get the error. Your code will run, because immediately from the lower version to the upper version, VBA is very smart. It will pick up the library for you automatically. You don't have to worry about it. You will have to worry only when you're using the higher version and your audience is using the lower version. If they're using the same version as you, then of course not a problem at all, right? So the real challenge comes actually how to sort this problem if you're using the higher version. Sometimes what happens, people really hate you if they do not know much of the VBA, and you're telling them, you're sending them the PPT and you're sending that before you click on this button, go to the tool and the reference, and then activate that library. I know that from my personal experience that people generally don't love that option. They don't want to do this thing, right? So in that case, guys, you can use the late binding method. Now this basically particular method is called the early binding. Early binding where you are in advance telling the VBA that with which object you would like to go ahead. So in the very advanced, you said that I'm gonna work with the 16.0 library, so it will always search for the 16.0. and if it finds 15.0 library, 14.0 library, it will give you this error. So in that case, what we can do is we can convert this entire process to late binding. Now you will ask me, what is the late binding? So in the late binding, now what happens, you don't give any reference. Okay, you don't give this reference. This reference is not required. So very smartly what you need to do is, because if you will not use this library, suppose for example I just go ahead and uncheck this. Okay, now you see it will be very difficult for me to create the classes for this. For example, if I just write here program, a new program, for example I go in the insert, I insert the module and I write here email send to, for example, right, this is, sorry for the at the rate word, so I just write here let me give some spaces. Now guys, if I'm gonna write here the code dim o as outlook dot object won't come, so maybe if I know, I will create that. That's something, I mean, if I remember the syntax I can do that, but it is very difficult to write, without these dot operators. Now what if you want to create an email, so you have to use your class which is called outlook dot mail item. So if the dot is not gonna come, you may find it very difficult. It's not so easy to remember the things. So that is why, what is a smart approach, you make the code in the early binding and then convert it into the late binding. First you make the code in the early binding. So I will definitely, first of all, when I'm going to make this code, I will go here and I will on my Microsoft library, which is Microsoft Outlook. I'm gonna on this library so that I can use the dot operators. Once you do that, once this code is prepared, then what you need to do, then this line, wherever you are using the dim word, okay, so let me just copy this line. Will come here and you will say that it is not the Outlook object. You will simply write here object. You do not know which object. VBA will decide which object VBA is going to create for you, right? So we just define it as object. Like you have integer, you have byte, you have single, double data type. Similarly, you have a variant, right? So in the variant, anything can come. VBA decides it. If you don't know anything about it, please go and check that the playlist Excel VBA introduction series, and you will find the life of a variable. That's a very beautiful video. So similarly for the objects, we define object. I'm not specific that I need to work with the Outlook. Now the second line where you are writing set O to new Outlook application, here now what you will write, instead of opening the Outlook application, which depends upon your version, you will simply write create object. Which object? I want to create the Outlook dot application object. Now what will happen, using this line, whatever version you have, whatever Office you have installed, your Outlook will be created, a new object will be created. And similarly this dim word, this is also going to be replaced with the object. So basically wherever you have used the dim, that is going to be replaced with object. And here specifically for the OL mail item, you use 0. And now guys, if I'm just going to remove my reference, look at this, the magic will happen. I don't need this library now, because of which the error was coming. If I just go ahead and run this line, the email would pop up in front of you without using any library. Look at this guys, amazing. This is called the late binding method, where VBA will create the Outlook application. Now if I send you this file, and the same way you save this file on your desktop and you run the code from there, the code will work and you will not have any problem because of this important line. Because if you're using Office 2013, I don't care, because VBA will create that Outlook application for you. It will automatically pick up the reference, right? You don't have to do anything. So choice is yours, early binding, late binding. What I do is generally I first make the code early binding so that I can make the use of that dot, and I can see all the properties in the methods. And once I'm through, while sending it out, before I send it out to client, if I'm working with any of the client for their project, I just make it the late binding, so that this hassle should not be there. Now some people also argue that basically early binding is faster than the late binding, because early binding basically you are clearly telling your VBA that which object they are supposed to work with. But I think even if they are faster, it's not really, I think, so important. In most of the time I never came across any situation where I was asked to save 1 minute, 5 minutes, or 10 minutes of a time while running the macro. I think that's fine, but still you should know that early binding definitely works faster. But for the very small codes like this kind of a code, it hardly matters. As you saw that when I ran the code using early binding and then I ran the code using late binding, there was no time difference, it ran immediately. Now similarly, not only this, suppose if you want to work with the PowerPoint as well. Now let me give you this, suppose I go to this module and I just write here object handling, for example. Suppose you got to work with the PowerPoint. So if you want to work with the PowerPoint, how will you do it? I will use the early binding method. So I go here and I'm going to use the Microsoft PowerPoint library. So I use this Microsoft PowerPoint library. So I go ahead and use this Microsoft PowerPoint 16.0 library. So let us go in the tools and I'm going to activate this PowerPoint. PowerPoint is already there, so and I can see that. Make sure that when you click that, you check mark your library, it should be there. So I come back always here and see that it is coming there or not. If it is coming, good. Now what I want to do is I just declare one variable PPT as PowerPoint.application. Now this is what exactly I was telling you. See that PowerPoint word is coming. If you just go and uncheck that library, you won't be able to see the PowerPoint, right? So this is what, so that is the first indication, guys, for you also, that if you're using the early binding, you have to on your library if you don't see the output coming. So now what is the second thing I'm going to do is set PPT equals to new PPT dot application, and then I'm going to make my PPT visible, for example. Well, this I have discussed in my many videos, that specific series, connecting PowerPoint with Excel. There are, I think, 9-10 videos starting from the scratch. You can enjoy those videos as well if you're somebody who is working a lot on the PowerPoint and like to export the charts and the table ranges, and want to link the Excel tables with the PowerPoint. Now this I have made it visible. Now what is the next thing I want to do? Well, maybe the next thing I want to do is want to actually add the presentation. So I write PPS as PowerPoint dot presentation, and then I'm going to use PPS equals to my PPT is this, and I want to add the presentation here. This is how we write the presentation, add, and what you want to add is that's it. I think you don't want to, presentation will be added, and then I'm going to add one slide as well. So I write here as PowerPoint dot slide. So these are all the classes I'm using, right? And then we're going to create one slide, and that's it. So I'm going to add the slides. This is how you add the slides. Dot add, you write the add word, don't use the add slide. The first slide I want to add, and maybe I want to use the PPT layout chart, for example. Now guys, when you run this, see what will happen. You will not get any error because you have the reference on. If you don't have the reference, you will get the defined error, obviously, right? This is the PowerPoint. Now I don't see any PowerPoint activated on the code, in still Excel, and the reason is because basically my PowerPoint is already it was activated when I started this. This PPT is already there. So if I just close it and I save this, and this is the PowerPoint which added, but I want to show you again why we didn't get the PowerPoint in the background, because there was already one of the PowerPoint application was running. This is going to create a new PowerPoint, and now you can see in the background this is visible. So basically we have made the visible using this line. Presentation will be added, and as you can see, and now the slide will be added. Now of course, if you send this code to somebody who is using again the lower version and they run this, they don't go here and they don't first of all uncheck that missing PowerPoint 16.0 and then they activate their own, depending upon which version they are using, they will get the user defined that error, right? So how to do that? Now you can tell them in advance, as I said, that please, before you do that, before you run the code, activate your library. But if they don't want to do that, or you're not comfortable, then you can simply change this program. Now what I can do is I simply uncheck this and I click OK. If I try to run this, the same error you will get. The type not defined, this PowerPoint is highlighted. It doesn't know about it, right? Now instead of this, we will use now the late binding. So again, same word where you have defined PPT, it is going to be object, and this is obviously going to be create object. So syntax will remain same, only the application will change what you want to create. So it's very easy to remember. Now create object PowerPoint. In the previous example, we created the Outlook.application. That's it, guys. And similarly, you will have to you replace this PPS as well as with the object. That's it. And this slide is also going to be replaced with the object. So VBA will decide everything for you. Now you already know that I don't have that library activated here, right? It is not there. So I'm just going to close this and I'm going to run this. And if I am able to successfully run this, then that means the code will work in any machine, because I'm not activating any, I'm not taking the help of any tool and in the reference library. So this will work. So I'm just going to hit here, variable not defined. So you see that what happens, the variable not defined. Why it says variable? Because it is not a variable. So what happens, because you change the code, change this early binding to the late binding, so some of the properties you will have to work on that. So this basically the PPT layout chart, this has this needs to be changed, because now we are using the late binding method, right? If you get this kind of a problems, you can always Google and find out what is the ideal situation. So let us say I'm gonna change this to 2, because that's gonna be the layout. For example, I just run this, and now you see that the code is going to work. This is what exactly it happens, right? So basically, if you change this to something else, you can Google it and you can see that what are the formats, basically the layouts available for this using the early binding method, the late binding method. If I'm just gonna click here one, let us see what kind of a the layout it is going to give us. So if I just run this, see that this is a different one, right? Previously it was showing little on the top side. So similarly, if I just choose this to something else, maybe 3, so I just run this and let us see now how it is going to come. Look at this, guys, it's gonna come like this, 1, 2 and 3. So that's how you can change the code from the early binding to the late binding. So you have 2 options: either you do this particular piece, change the first, make the program in the early binding, then change it to the late binding, and or what you can do is you simply tell your users, if they are using the lower version, before they run the macro, send them the PPT where you can give these snapshots that they need to go here and uncheck this missing one, right? You get this, you can get this kind of an image missing in the library, from any of the Excel website where they have talked about the early binding and the late binding, and you can show that in your PPT, so that user should understand that this missing would come here, and you can tell them how to off it and which basically library how to on it, specifically that library which pertains to their own system, right? Now there is another system, there is another method also, depending upon the version also, you can on the library. You can run a macro which will do what, will go in your tools in the reference, which will find that which basically library it has to activate. So process what I'm talking about is that right now you can make a program which can go in the tool reference. Remember VBA, I'm not talking about manual, and it can activate that library for you. That's another basically altogether different and a very sophisticated kind of a program. Maybe I will talk in some another video how to add the references automatically using the program. That also you can do. You can create a program that if user is going to have a 2007 version, then activate that particular library. If he's or she's using 2013, then activate that kind of a library. But anyways, that's not really required. It is just that for the extra knowledge I was telling you. I'll talk about this in my coming video also, but this is what is important for you: early binding and late binding, right? So I hope that I have been able to do justice with your question, dear subscriber, right? And so keep writing in, and I would request you to keep your comment on the YouTube so that everybody can see that, right? So once again, thanks so much, guys, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much for watching.